Welcome back, everyone, to the D3D4 YouTube channel. My name is James Richards, host of D3D4 Football. I have the pleasure of being joined by Tom Lyons tonight, the host of the very good One Pod Beyond, the Walsall podcast. Lovely sense of, I suppose, a great sense of humour, but you have to have that, don't you, to be a Walsall fan, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to support anybody else. What would the point of that be? But yeah, you kind of need a sense of humour to be a Walsall fan. But it's been pretty thin pickings over the last few years. But we keep going and keep striving for better.
Indeed, let's hope that transpires next season. Let's start with this one, though. And how have you performed against expectations?
Yeah, pretty disastrously, to be honest. I think if you told us at the start of the season that only two teams would have lost more games than us by the middle of April, we'd have bitten your hand off. But if you told us only four teams would have won more games, we'd have probably politely given you your hand back and said, no, thanks. And that's been the story of the season, really. Not enough goals, not enough wins, too many draws, too many poor performances. There are obviously mitigating circumstances. The serious injury to Rory Holden, by far our most creative player in December, was a big blow. The sales of Adebayo and Jules in January. And then, of course, Darrell Clark decamping to Burslem shortly afterwards. But, you know, the fact is we've been pretty underwhelming for the vast majority of the season, even before any of those three things happened.
Who would you say has been your best player this season in that case?
He's not played many games, but Holden, no doubt about it. We've won 10 games this season. He's started 9 of them. He makes us tick in the same way that Romain Sawyers and Erhon Öztürk used to, and we missed him desperately when he got injured. There's no way around that. I think Elijah Adebayo deserves a mention, good, yeah. As does Liam Kinsella. Who's one of those sort of completely committed 7 out of 10 every week players you absolutely love having at your club. And also James Clark's made a real difference since he's come back into the defence in the last month or so.
Yeah, which is something I'm sure you perhaps wouldn't have thought you'd be saying earlier in the season when his form perhaps wasn't as good. But is there a player that surprised you this season, good or bad?
I think Adebayo actually surprised me. On One Pod Beyond, we had him down as the player most likely to be loaned out to the conference 2 Christmases ago. But he was a different player in the second half of last season. And even so, I was still surprised at just how much he continued to improve this season. And he's obviously continued that upward trajectory in the Championship with Luton. I think that's testament to our coaching and his application, to be honest. And we're actually currently seeing a similar transformation in Manny Osadibe, who looks a completely different player after a run in the team and scored what will almost certainly be our goal of the season against Tranmere on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I saw that. It was very good.
It's a fabulous goal. And one of the few highlights of what's been a pretty poor season. But finally, I think probably the biggest surprise overall has been Sam Perry, given that he started the season as an 18-year-old fringe player and will almost certainly finish it as the first name on the team sheet in midfield. I mean, he genuinely looks like the best kid we've had come through since Rico Henry.
Oh, blimey. That's high praise indeed. So good.
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
Stuff. Best signing?
We actually didn't sign that many players in the summer, which led many of us to think we'd do quite well, more full us. So again, it would probably have to be Rory Holden. We had him on loan the previous season, but we were genuinely surprised to be able to pick him up for a fee in the summer. We did actually pay money for him. And even with his injury, it looks like a superb investment. So fingers crossed. There was a very nervy moment in Tuesday night's game against Tranmere where he was down for about 3 or 4 minutes. And, we just thought he was going to be out for a long time again. But he managed to get up and play on. And fingers crossed that injury-free run can continue.
Yeah, let's hope so. He's a very good player. Best opposition player that you've seen this season?
I think it's got to be Bahambula at Oldham.
You get bonus points on this podcast for saying that.
It kind of reminds me of the days when Walsall used to pick up inexplicably good players from the continent. You think of sort of Roger Bolly, Jeff Perron, George Leitao, Pedro Matthias. So I've got no idea how Oldham managed to sign him, but he's just a player that you love to watch. And I was sort of simultaneously cross and relieved that he was only on the bench against us in the last game we played against Oldham at Besca.
Yeah, travesty, that outrageous putting him on the bench. But any opposition team that's impressed you more than any other?
Cheltenham, I think I have to say, I just love what Duff's done there. People go on about Ben Tozer's long throws, but they're actually a really good footballing side. And in terms of a consistent structure and football philosophy, they're probably the model for any club in this division that doesn't have a sugar daddy owner. I'm a big fan.
Now, the next question is most used formation, but you've used so many this season. I'd probably rephrase it to which one do you think suited your team the best?
Yeah, it's probably a toss-up, isn't it? Our most used formation between 3-4-3, 4-4-1-1, 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, 4-3-3, or 3-5-2. We've used them all, to be honest, and the constant formation and personnel bingo was a source of huge frustration during the Clark era, and it's something that's carried over into Brian Dutton's reign. We started with three at the back on Tuesday night, and we actually put one of my colleagues on the pod, Gary, put out a tweet that said, I'd love to see us go to 4-2-3-1 at half time, and that's exactly what happened. Dutton at least saw that he needed to change it. And we were by far the better team in the second half. So that was really nice to see. So, 4-2-3-1, big thumbs up to that going forward, I think.
Your worst moment of the season?
Ooh, again, I think that's a toss-up between the 97th minute penalty equaliser we somehow managed to concede at Crawley and the...
I'm sorry about that.
And the abject second half performance at Southend, where we failed to have a single shot at goal, despite playing against a team with 10 men who'd won 4 home games all season.
Yeah, I actually chose to watch that game. I never forgive myself. Your best moment of the season?
I would go for the 4-3 win against Port Vale. We were 2-0 down at half time. We were 3-2 down with 15 minutes left. Put that together with the 3-1 win at their place. We joked on the pod that Vale had appointed Darrell Clark solely on the basis of our games against them this season. But there may well be an element of truth in that, to be honest.
Indeed. And what have you missed the most about attending matches in person?
Apart from taking my lad to the game and meeting mates, it would probably be that sort of rush of emotion and exhilaration when a goal goes in. Obviously, absolutely love that. And alongside that, probably the Balti pies, which are a big miss.
I had a feeling food might be mentioned. I had a feeling. Yeah. I know it's early, but expectations for next season?
A month ago, I'd have said targeting promotion from the conference. But after 2 wins on the spin, where we've actually looked half decent, and Perry, Holden and Osadebe all signed up for next season, the natural optimism that courses through the veins of every Walsall fan says top 10 next season, top 7 if we find a striker down the back of the sofa.
Let's hope you do. Final question. In using just 3 words, none of them swear words, please. Sum up your season.
Squeaky bum time.
Yes, I like that expression. I think that describes quite a lot of teams in League 2 this year, especially with, I think, the ramifications of falling into the conference this year, of any, is just terrible. So
yes, I was speaking to a friend of mine who's a football journalist who actually spoke to a former Walsall manager who said he really feared for Walsall if we went down into the conference. And I think, as you say, it's an emotion that a lot of teams will feel. You see clubs like Notts County and Wrexham, scrabbling around trying to get into the.
I remember Oxford getting relegated against, like, we were on the last day of the season. We went down and we played Leighton Orient. I was there. It was the worst feeling ever. Terrible.
Yeah. Wouldn't wish it on anyone. So yeah, let's hope next season isn't as squeaky in the bum department as this one.
Yeah, let's hope so. Tom, thank you very much for joining me. Before you go, can you tell everyone where they can find you and your podcast?
Yeah, you can find us on all your new normal podcast channels. We got on SoundCloud and iTunes, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter for all sorts of football and mostly food-related nonsense.
Excellent. It's at One Pod Beyond for those who are not aware. And thank you for watching this. Thank you for giving us your time this evening. And I hope you've enjoyed the content we're putting out. We'll carry on endeavouring to do these over the next few weeks. Tom, again, big thank you to you tonight. And until the next one, everyone, we'll see you soon. Goodbye.